Hey guys, Ramon here with WRX Series Gray, and behind me is my 2019 WRX. It is the cool gray khaki color, or also known as Series Gray. Now this car is completely stock. In fact, it's still under warranty right now, and the only thing I've really done to it is tinted the windows and just changed the wheels on it, which is what I want to talk about today. Now I did a lot of research, went to multiple websites, willtheyfit.com, went to Fitment Industries, which then went to their gallery page and looked at all of the different Subarus out there, or the WRXs that had a flush look. I was going for flush, or hella flush is another thing I kept coming across as well. And in all my research, everything kept saying, including all the forums, that if you want the flush look, to go with the 18 by 9.5 with a 38 offset, a positive 38 offset. Now stock, these wheels come with a positive or a plus 55 millimeter offset. So I went from a 55 to a 38. Now there's lots of videos and forums and websites out there that talk about offset, but just to touch on it real quick, if you go negative or lower than your stock offset, it's going to push the wheel out. So out. If you go positive or higher than your original stock offset, it's going to tuck the wheels in. So because I had a positive 55 and I went negatively to a positive 38, so I went backwards or down in number, that caused my wheel to be pushed out. So I hope that makes sense to understand how that offset works. So let's bring you a little bit closer and look at this offset. Okay, so these are the 18 by 9.5 with a positive 38 millimeter offset. All over the internet, Fitment Industries gallery, everything you're going to see talks about these being flush or hella flush. Just get multiple angles here for you to see. I'm trying to keep it as straight with the car as I can. So as you can tell, they still kind of poke out, and that's pretty darn flush with the car right there for the rears. And then for the front, it still pokes out a little bit. So I think I covered pretty much all the angles. Let's talk a little bit further as to why people are calling this both flush or hella flush, even though, as you can tell, they are kind of poking out. Before I forget, these are the Inky TSV wheels, and they come in, for the WRX, it's 5 by 114 for the bolt pattern. So we're looking at the rear tire. They're both the same. And I wrapped them in the Michelin Pilot Sport AS3 Plus, and I went with the 265 35 18s, and they have been phenomenal. They're very quiet. We've had some crazy torrential downpour, and I've been able to maintain almost highway speed and feel plenty safe. So I am extremely happy with these. One thing I like, and we're going to talk about this right now, let's see if I can show you, is there's a slight overhang of the tire over the wheel, technically the rim of the wheel here. So just slightly protects the rim of the wheel here. So I do like that about these tires. So we're going to focus more on the wheel itself right now. So let me show you how I measured everything. The distance from the edge of the wheel to where the tire sticks out from it is 1/8. So I just took my square, measured it, it's 1/8. So when I did all my measurements, I just subtracted 1/8 to see how far is my wheel really sticking out past my fender here. Okay, so I changed the angle up so that you guys can see what I'm talking about, and I have you almost perfectly in line with the fender right here. So I took this, and let's see what it looks like when it is level. So vertically, I don't know if you can see that bubble down here, but it is perfectly centered, which means that basically the outside, just outside the tread itself, there's a slightly raised portion of the tire. That is what is flush with my fender. Is that what people are calling hella flush? Are they going off of the tread, or are they going off the actual tire itself or the wheel itself? So I'm not sure what the true definition is in terms of what qualifies for flush, hella flush, or poked. But if you're going by the tread itself, then the tread itself is, I mean, it is as close to flush as you can get, or hella flush here. But how far is the tire and the wheel actually sticking out past the edge of the fender? Okay, so what I did next was I set my top one up flush with the fender until the bubble was in the middle, and then I set the second one so that it was perpendicular to the outside of the tire. And then I took a measurement, and I found that measurement, the distance between these two levels, to be 3/8 of an inch. Now the reason I can do that is because both of these levels are the exact same width. So the distance between them is 3/8. So my tire sticks out 3/8 of an inch, which means my wheel sticks out a 1/4 of an inch. Sorry, I had to do some quick math there in my head and remove 1/8 of an inch. So basically, no matter what tire you're going to put on this wheel, whether you do a 265 or a 255, which are the two most popular wheel sizes or tire sizes that people put on these wheels, no matter which tire you put, your wheel itself will always be sticking out a 1/4 of an inch past the fender. The tread is flush with the fender, but the rest of your wheel and tire setup is going to poke past your fender. So you guys take that information for what you think it's worth for your setup and the stance that you're looking for. If you want your entire wheel to be flush with the fender, then you're going to need to choose something probably between 38 and 55. I'm not going to sit here and you can take that 1/4 inch information and do what you want with it. These are for the inky wheels, so I'm not going to say that every wheel setup is going to be a 1/4 inch past your fender. You guys are going to have to try to do some research on your own. I'm going to say it's probably going to be pretty close to universal, only because all of these wheels are going to be 18 by 9.5, so they're all 9.5 inches wide. I don't see why that would change depending on the manufacturer, but you guys have to do your own research. I'm not going to sit here and say that every wheel that you buy out there for these cars is exactly going to be a 1/4 inch past your fender, because we all know that that may or may not be true. So this is just information that you can have when you're trying to set up your stance. However, it all just, I guess, depends on what type of look you're going for. More than likely, you guys can do the math and transfer a 1/4 inch to millimeters and then adjust your offset accordingly. You may be looking at 40, you may be looking at 42 millimeter offset. I haven't done the math. I'm throwing numbers out the top of my head. You guys need to do this on your own and figure out the math and if it even matters to you or not. I'm just showing you what I have not seen, and these are just exact measurements on probably one of the most popular wheel setups for our cars. As far as I know, and you'll have to do your own research as always, this should be the same setup for all 25 or 2015 and up models. I don't know if this fender hub situation is any different for anything older than that, but as far as I know in my bit of research, this information should work for all 2015 and up WRXs. So let's go take a look at the front next. So if it looks like the front pokes out more than the rear, it's because it does. Not by much, but even visually, like when you're looking at it, the front does seem to poke out. It's just a profile, maybe as it's curving into the nose of the vehicle. For whatever reason, the wheel and tire setup just visually and measurement are poking out just a little bit further. So something interesting, when I place this here, the inside of this level here is higher up. In fact, and I think this is where the hella flush statement is coming from, because just the outer edge of this rounded part of my tread, that is, I mean, perfectly flush with the fender. Whereas in the rear, it was this ledge that kind of sticks out was what was flush with my fender. But in the front, because these poke out more, it's just this rounded part that you see here in my tread. That's the part that is flush or hella flush with my fender. So those just simple measurements with the level, without even doing all of this fancy stuff, proves that the front tire and wheel poke out more from the fender than the rear. Now, the entire tire part, that sticks out in the front 5/8 of an inch from the fender. So you can subtract 1/8 of an inch from that, which means 1/2 an inch is what my wheel is sticking out. So it's, I mean, it's 1/4 of an inch difference between the front and the rear, because the rear was only 1/4 of an inch. This is 1/2 an inch for the wheel itself. Once again, they're all the same sizes, so 18 by 9.5 on the front as well. So not much to talk about. I did everything the same as I did the rear. Couple of pointers here. Am I telling you that I'm exactly dead center on all of my measurements? No, I might be off a degree here and there, but I think I took multiple measurements multiple times and I was getting the same measurement every time. So I feel pretty confident that my measurements were correct. And I was pretty close to the top dead center on all of my measurements around. So there you have it. This is the true measurements of the front and rear on a 2015 and above WRX with the 18 by 9.5 wheels. This is wrapped in 265. I don't see any difference that a 255 would make, but it might make some. But no matter what you wrap your wheels in, your wheels will be sticking out 1/4 of an inch in the rear and 1/2 an inch in the front. Once again, if you guys want the wheels flush with the fender, you guys will have to do your own math and calculations and research from there. All right, so just to look one more time, this is actually a good view where you can see the front sticks out just a little bit more than the rear. And of course, it's going to be no different on this side. You can see what I mean. We're just that rounded part there. That's what's flush. And then on the rears, this edge here, well, it almost seems like it sticks out further here, but trying to get you flush with the fender, but that's where it sticks out. The other thing I want to show you with these 265s is just how wide of a wheel that is. Okay, so we've discussed that the wheels do poke a little bit, even though everything I've read and says is calling this a flush or hella flush setup. If we're going off the treads, it is definitely a flush or hella flush setup. So I'm sure the next question you guys are going to be asking is, does this rub against the fender, the lip here? As you can see, I do not have any of my fenders rolled. Everything, like I said at the beginning, is stock. With a stock suspension, nothing rubs. And you can see it. I've had these wheels on for, I don't know, a little over a month now. This wheel and tire setup. And of course the front, I mean, look how much gap we have there. I mean, you're not gonna hit anything. So there has been zero rubbing whatsoever, which I am extremely happy about. All right, guys, so going back to this rubbing topic, I have hit some major construction spots, some bumps that I kind of know are on my highway commute every day at full highway speed and sometimes maybe a little bit faster. And I'm talking the type of bumps that like make you almost lift off of your seat. I'm really trying to put the car and the wheel and tire setup through its pace just to see if I can even make it rub. Nothing that I've been able to do has made these tires rub the fender. So even with this flush, hella flush, slightly poked stance that I have going on, I am not getting any rubbing whatsoever. So if you're looking at this and you're concerned, you should not be with a stock setup. Now, if you're running coilovers, airbags, lowering springs, that's on you guys to figure that out, and you will most likely have to roll your fenders, but you probably already know that anyway if you're doing lowering your car no matter what. So I really hope this video helps somebody out, because I stressed out for a long time looking at all of these different websites and all of the forums and all of the galleries and all of the pictures, trying to make sure that I got that flush, hella flush look. I am extremely happy with this look that I got. To be perfectly honest, I was a little upset at first because it did poke out more than I wanted it to, but it's kind of grown on me. It is a very aggressive looking stance, but I don't know if I would qualify this as a flush or hella flush stance, because I look at the entire wheel, entire assembly, and it looks poked to me. But I can understand if you're basing it off of the tread, then yes, this is a true flush, hella flush stance. I don't think you can get it any closer than this if you're going off of the tread only. But as I've been able to prove, the wheel itself was actually not flush with either of the fenders, and it will stick out past the fenders no matter what you wrap it in. I really hope this helps you guys, for those that are trying to get that true flush stance. But if you go with these wheels, the 18x9.5s with a 38 offset, you won't have to worry about rubbing, and it is a beautiful stance, very aggressive looking, and I wouldn't change it. I'm not changing these wheels because they're poke out a little bit. I think they are perfectly fine, and I love the bronze color on them. If you guys have any suggestions, anything else that you guys want to know specific about the setup and the stance, please hit me up in the comments below. If you like this video, feel free to hit that thumbs up and subscribe, and share this video for anybody else that you know with one of these WRXs 2015 and up models that are looking to get new wheels. Thanks, guys.